Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join us as we explore the rugged landscapes, uncover hidden historical gems, and dive deep into the rich legends and culture of this iconic region. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Please leave a like or comment. This is very helpful. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Picture this. It's a blazing afternoon in 1905, high in the rugged Bradshaw Mountains of Arizona. 100 angry miners emerge from the depths of a gold mine, their faces grim, their fists clenched. They're carrying something far more dangerous than pickaxes, a unified rage about to explode. At the center of their fury stands mining engineer Schlesinger, whose penny-pinching obsession is about to cost him everything. This is the story of Oro Belle, a forgotten gold mining town where bad food sparked one of Arizona's most dramatic workplace confrontations. It's a tale of two managers, two philosophies, and one fateful afternoon that changed everything. Nestled in Arizona's Bradshaw Mountains, 45 miles south of Prescott, lie the ghostly remains of Oro Belle, Spanish for beautiful gold. These weathered buildings on Wasson Peak's south slope hold secrets of fortunes won and lost. For a brief moment at the turn of the 20th century, this remote valley buzzed with 200 souls chasing gold. The story begins in the late 1890s with George Harrington. Plain and unassuming, Harrington possessed the rare ability to inspire unwavering loyalty among Arizona's toughest men. When Harrington acquired the gold-bearing Oro Belle and Gray Eagle veins, he saw an opportunity to build something special. The Oro Belle Mining and Milling Company was his vision of how mining should treat its people. By 1900, the camp bearing Harrington's name was thriving. 100 miners extracted gold from deep within the mountain. But these weren't just employees. They were community members Harrington had cultivated through extraordinary generosity. The camp, originally called Harrington, bustled with saloons, markets, and stores. A deputy sheriff and justice of the peace maintained order, though serious conflicts were rare under Harrington's leadership. Harrington regularly provided grubstakes to prospective miners, funding their dreams with no guarantee of return. He employed job seekers and served quality food in generous portions, understanding that men in dangerous conditions deserved to eat well. The workers adored him. In an era when mining managers were despised as heartless profiteers, Harrington achieved something remarkable, a genuinely happy workforce. The camp earned its reputation as cheerful and contented. But by 1905, Harrington's generosity had caught his investors' attention. The major stockholders were watching the books and didn't like what they saw. Yes, the mine was profitable, but they believed Harrington was leaving money on the table with lavish spending on worker welfare. In 1905, they made their move. The stockholders removed Harrington from management, replacing him with mining engineer Schlesinger, a professional focused on the bottom line rather than worker charity. Harrington was relegated to nominal advisor, a meaningless title. He remained in camp, watching helplessly as Schlesinger prepared his vision of mining management. Schlesinger arrived believing textbooks had taught him everything about running a camp. He immediately launched his pinch penny reform program, slashing every conceivable expense. Initially, miners tolerated the changes. Work schedules became rigid, supplies rationed, equipment maintenance deferred. The men grumbled but adapted. But Schlesinger's cost-cutting obsession knew no bounds. Soon he targeted what he considered the most excessive expense, the boarding house food budget. Under Harrington, the boarding house had been a source of pride. Meals were hearty and plentiful. The men worked dangerous 12-hour shifts. Good food was necessity, not luxury. Schlesinger saw it differently. Food was just another line item to minimize. Portion sizes shrank. Meat appeared less frequently. Fresh vegetables became rare. Ingredient quality declined as Schlesinger sought the cheapest suppliers. Within months, meals had deteriorated to what miners described as far below palatable standards. Schlesinger responded to complaints with weak promises, then never followed through. By late 1905, the situation was unbearable. Men who spent days breathing rock dust in dangerous tunnels came home to meals that wouldn't satisfy a child. The boarding house had become a source of humiliation and anger. The miners tried reasoning with Schlesinger, pointing out that poor nutrition affected their work safety and morale. Schlesinger brushed off every suggestion, seeing only complaining about adequate cost-cutting. The miners were reaching their breaking point. Skilled laborers trapped in a remote camp dependent on their employer for shelter, food, and income. The exact date isn't recorded, but witnesses would never forget that sweltering afternoon when the miners' patience finally ran out. One moment, the Oro Belle mine was operating normally, picks and shovels echoing from tunnels, the mill processing ore, men going about their routines. The next moment, everything stopped. It started with angry voices in the boarding house during lunch. Someone had taken one bite too many of the latest inedible meal. Within minutes, anger spread like wildfire through every corner of the operation. Men erupted from mine shafts, abandoning their posts mid-shift. Workers stormed out of the mill, leaving equipment running. The entire boarding house emptied as men poured into the camp's main street. They hadn't planned this moment, but suddenly, 100 furious miners found themselves united in rage. They formed what witnesses described as an angry mob, and their target was clear: Schlesinger. As the crowd advanced toward the manager's office, their mood was ominous. These were men who dealt with dynamite and rock falls for a living. When they decided to make a point, it got noticed. From the crowd stepped Brooks Freeland, a respected miner chosen as their spokesman. Freeland wasn't the biggest or loudest man in the group, but he had the respect of his fellow workers and the courage to do what needed to be done. He walked directly up to Schlesinger, close enough that the manager could see the determination in his eyes and the anger of 100 men standing behind him. What happened next was a masterclass in workplace negotiation, if you can call a furious mob delivering an ultimatum negotiation. Freeland looked Schlesinger in the eye and delivered a message that was crystal clear: unless the food is improved immediately, we all leave camp. It wasn't a request. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a simple statement of fact delivered with the backing of every working man in Oro Belle. Schlesinger found himself facing a sea of grim, dissatisfied faces, men who had reached their absolute limit. These weren't just employees expressing concerns. These were skilled workers threatening to abandon the operation entirely, leaving Schlesinger with a mine full of gold that no one would extract. For perhaps the first time since taking over management, Schlesinger understood that his penny pinching had consequences beyond the company balance sheet. Confronted by unified anger from his entire workforce, his confidence crumbled. Witnesses described his response as delivered in a cowardly voice. A man who had spent months dismissing workers' concerns suddenly found himself begging for their patience. He promised to grant all demands. He pleaded for time to bring in fresh food supplies. He assured them everything would change immediately. But it was too late for promises. The confrontation had exposed something that couldn't be hidden. Schlesinger had completely lost the respect and confidence of his workforce. A manager who couldn't command the loyalty of his men was worse than useless. He was a liability. Whether Schlesinger actually followed through on his desperate promises to improve the food remains unknown. The historical record doesn't tell us if fresh supplies ever arrived or if the boarding house meals suddenly improved. What we do know is that it didn't matter. The damage was done. Schlesinger had proven himself incapable of the most basic requirement of mining camp management: maintaining the trust and cooperation of his workers. Faced with his complete failure as a leader, he made the only decision available to him. He resigned. News of Schlesinger's departure spread through camp faster than gossip in a small town. But the real celebration began when word came that George Harrington was returning to active management. The transition was swift and decisive. Harrington stepped back into his role as if he had never left, bringing the management philosophy that had made Oro Belle a model mining community. The boarding house food improved immediately. The penny-pinching policies were abandoned. The camp's atmosphere transformed overnight from tension and resentment to relief and satisfaction. Within days, Oro Belle had returned to its former status as a cheerful and contented camp. The miners went back to their dangerous work with renewed energy, knowing their manager understood and valued their contributions. The stockholders who had orchestrated Schlesinger's appointment learned a costly lesson about the difference between cutting costs and cutting corners. They had tried to squeeze additional profits from their investment and had nearly lost everything in the process. Oro Belle's golden years continued for several more years under Harrington's restored leadership. But like all mining camps, its fate was ultimately tied to the ore deposits beneath the ground. By 1918, when the post office was discontinued, the community was already in decline. Today, the deserted buildings in their mountain valley serve as a reminder of a fascinating chapter in Arizona's mining history. But the story of the 1905 uprising offers lessons extending far beyond the mining industry. Join my Patreon community and discover my art print products on my website in the links provided in my description and link above. Also, if you would like a particular image from my videos, give the timestamp for image, and I will upload it to my website and Patreon. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest Gold story. Check out my large catalog of Southwest videos and playlists on historical tales, legends, lost gold stories, and adult bedtime stories. If you like a certain image from my videos, tell me in comments and give timestamp. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.